How am I using what's already in my hand? If I got nothing else, if nothing else came, am I maximizing that? See, that's real grown-up conversation with leaders. See, these are conversations that are not always fun. Why? Because as long as I got something to point to, I don't have to start here. Now again, hear me. I hope you guys understand the heart I'm saying this with. I heard it best from great John Wooden, who said it best. He goes, the best always want to get better. And because the best always want to get better, they know the only way to get better is to challenge. Because the scoreboard doesn't dictate whether we're being successful. The scoreboard is a lagging indicator. It is not a leading indicator. The leading actions are what matters. What the scoreboard says is what you've already done. It's not necessarily currently telling what you're doing right now. So if variables shift, how do I keep the scoreboard going in the right way? It means I might have to make some adjustments. I might have to make some change. I was with the Jets, man. We were on the sideline. We was getting killed. Our coach brings the offense together. I was a wide receiver. Brings us all together and says, look at the scoreboard. We all looked at it. Just with serious faces. And then he turns around and says, we need to score more points, and walks off. We were like, brilliant. That's why you get paid all that money, right? We don't need leaders who are scorekeepers. There's somebody already doing that. The scoreboard changes when we actually get the ball across the goal line. The goal line does not care, neither does the scoreboard. So what are the lagging indicators? What are the controlling factors that we need to adjust to make that happen? That's when leadership kicks in. That's when we have to have real conversation. That's why information has to go back and forth. That's the situation we find ourselves in right now. There are too many variables that are likely going to change. So if we're not ready to adapt that way, we're already in trouble. So let me get this help. Let me get right to it. So what gets in the way of an acorn becoming an oak tree? Us actually maximizing our potential. Us thriving through change, not just surviving it. This one, first thing right here, it's an attitude. It's between the ears. And the attitude says we're okay just the way that we are. Just the way that we are. I'll tell you right now, I'm a great husband. My wife just don't realize how good she got it. Okay. No other way to say it. Keep it real. I'm a great SMO. I'm a great BD. It's not me. It's them. I ain't the problem. I'm awesome at what I do. It's just these idiots I got to work with. If you had to work with the idiots, you'd struggle too. Oh, it's not this. It's that. Man, it's the market. It's the industry. It's the end. No one's arguing. Those aren't variables. But this attitude is what's dangerous. That I'm okay, we're okay, just if we just sit here and wait it out. I promise you, things will come back to normal. If you are building your future hope on that, okay. Here's what I tell leaders all the time. If it goes back to the way it was, you're all good. But if it doesn't, that's when you should get nervous. There's a quote by a gentleman named Eric Hoffer, said it best. He says, in times of change, which I believe we all know we're in times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned, the know-it-alls, are beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. It is dangerous to have this kind of attitude. Right now, learners are inheriting every opportunity. Right now, learners are the earners. Why? Because they keep finding new ways to add value. Right now, we should be more curious than we've ever been before. We don't discount or remove all our learnings. We don't remove everything we've grown. We build from that, using what we've already learned, understanding that we get new information every day. It is a dangerous thing when the world is changing around you faster than you're changing on the inside. Already in trouble. In football, we say it all the time. What drove us crazy, when whatever your favorite team is, they get a lead, And then they start playing what in the fourth quarter? Prevent defense. I heard it, yep. They start playing not to lose. They blitzed. They were aggressive the whole time, giving feedback back and forth. But all of a sudden they look at the clock. I need to protect the lead instead of expanding it. And all of a sudden they start playing on their heels, only to turn around and give their competition confidence. All of a sudden the other team figured it out in the fourth quarter. No. You stopped doing the things that allowed you to be effective in the first place. This is what typically happens. And the only way to get past that is to go back to learning again. Humility. One client I worked with recently, I loved their line. They just said, he said, man, the only thing that keeps us going is we're hungry, we're humble, and because we're hungry and because we're humble, we end up being smart. I was like, man, that's brilliant. Their desire is strong, but they're humble enough to know they don't have all the answers, but because they don't have all the answers and they work to get the answers, they end up smarter. That's how it works. And so my encouragement right now to each of you is this is powerful, but I only talked about it professionally. I'm going to tell you even more so. It's even more powerful personally. My wife and I have been married 26 years, but there have been circumstances we've had to deal with, especially with the health of my youngest daughter. My oldest daughter is my project manager. I think she's right back there. Okay. Oh, there's her hand. Okay. And one of the things is my youngest daughter, she has some health challenges. And I got to tell you, I thought I had it all figured. I mean, I got the plan, I got the strategy, I got the goal. You know, I'm Mr. Positive. I'm going to give me a plan. We can make it happen. Right? You know, her joints are hurting. She has lupus, so it's a autoimmune disease, and it creates it. But I was like, oh, nothing that a few exercises and squats won't take care of. Only to discover, man, my wife has an instinct and some feel that only a mother can have that I don't got. But my ignorant self is going to argue that, no, you're not following the plan. No, you're not following. What? Instead of bringing the best of both worlds together, I stand up talking like I know what I'm talking about. Leaders, I'm telling you right now, the pandemic has hit a whole bunch of people in the face. And in many cases, what it's really done to a lot of individuals, especially from a labor standpoint, me and Weldon had to talk about this this morning, real early this morning. Sorry, Weldon. But one of the things we talked about was the labor challenges, right? And I've been trying to figure it out. I was like, is it because people are getting unemployment for not doing nothing? People getting more money because of this? Is it because of this and this? And I was going to all these places. But then I started realizing that no, man, in the tech, I do a lot of work consulting in the tech industry. A ton. I'm in San Francisco, Bay Area, all that. No, I'm telling you, well-paid individuals are making decisions to no longer come back. We're taking time off. We're taking a break. Healthcare, taking a break. And we're trying to dig into it. And one of the leaders looked at me and says, Eric, I think for the first time I'm realizing something. I said, what's that? Is that I'm realizing what my people already realized. They got choices. And if I don't get better at creating relationship with the people that I want to stay on board, I'm in trouble. I'm starting to discover that the currency is the relationship itself. That's a real currency. Can't pay them enough. I mean, we just saw Burger King giving what? Signing bonuses of $1,500? I'm like, I worked at McDonald's a long time ago. You know how long it would have took me to make $1,500? My goodness, right? But we believe the currency is just dollars. I'm telling you, the currency is part of it, but there's a currency we all have as leaders within us that the people we lead want desperately. That means that we care, that they connect with us, that we connect with them. Now, before I go further, here's what I do know. Nobody, I don't believe anybody in this room is struggling with this, that we're okay just the way that we are. I don't believe that. I believe every single person may be nervous about change, may be nervous about some of these dynamics, may be nervous because you got two different groups coming together under one word, figuring out how to work together in ways that you haven't had to before. That's uncomfortable. I get asked the question all the time, Eric, how do we bring these groups together and make them one team? I was like, well, you got to have a really good reason to do so. And I'm like, why? Because teamwork is really inconvenient. People aren't honest enough about it. It's really inconvenient if you don't have a really good reason for it. Okay? And so what's important is to have a really good reason for it. Really important to do that because it has to offset my personal ambition, my natural selfishness. I have to surrender that selfishness into going after something bigger. So whatever the bigger thing is, you better be clear about it, leaders. Because if it ain't big enough, I'm sorry. I'm going to keep doing my selfish act. I'm going to try not to be, but the reality is I probably am. And so one of the things that help with this is this next point I want to bring right here, and then I'm going to turn over to a question. This is one of the things that are critical. We got to realize as leaders, all of the people we lead and influence face, and we do ourselves, fear of the unknown, fear of the future. We have a tendency, when I don't know what the future is going to look like, I fight to maintain what currently exists, even if what currently exists isn't getting it done. I know you all know that. It's like working with a franchisee who literally, their business is struggling. And you're getting them to change something, and they'll fight you on the change. This isn't a franchisee issue, it's a human issue. And you're like, do you have a better alternative? No, but I'm not changing to that. So you're just going to keep doing what you're doing? There's a statement. It simply says this, that people choose unhappiness over uncertainty. Leaders, hear me when I say that. People will choose unhappiness over uncertainty. That means I'd rather be unhappy and certain about it. Let that sink in. Versus get out of my comfort zone, take the risk, and go after what I really want or really desire. And as leaders, we got to realize that's what we got to help with. And just stats and numbers don't overcome that. That's an emotion. Fear is an emotion. It's an anticipation of danger. It can see everything that can go wrong. And if you can't give me a picture of what can go right, I'm sorry, it's hard for me to follow you. It was Colin Powell who said it best. He said there are very few leaders out there so brilliant that their people will follow them out of curiosity. Okay. And so with that said, how do we turn the fear of the unknown into confidence in the known? And we turn the unknown into the known. That's what we got to do. We got to do it with vision. We got to do it with clarity. And so, two things I'm going to have you do. First thing is this. Break this down first. First question I have for many of you personally. I'm not even talking about the business yet, but you personally. Here's my question. In 12 months, you're going to arrive. The question is where? So in 12 months, you're going to arrive. My question is where? Are you going to arrive at a designed destination? Or are you going to arrive at an undesigned destination? Have you sat down and really strategically thought through where you want your life to be 12 months from now? Now, I feel strongly that you probably know your key performance indicators or where you want to be at for this next quarter. You probably even know first quarter in 2022. You probably know for the end of in terms of Subway, in terms of your responsibilities. But my bigger question is, I understand you got your strategic plan in place for that, but for yourself personally. In business, we call it a return on investment. Why? Because we know our resources are limited. And because they're limited, we got to make tough decisions in terms of prioritization. Where should we invest all these resources to get the greatest return possible? But I turn around and ask the same leader this question. Do you do it for yourself personally? Because in 12 months, you're going to arrive. And the question is, are you going to get a return on energy? Are you going to get a return on your time? Don't arrive 12 months from now at an undesigned destination and then complain about it. Your life is your own. Do you know how much better leader you are when you also have your own personal strategic plan? When you're doing things that you love, that you're excited about, it feeds you. There is nothing better than being led or influenced by a leader who's living life. who's doing things that excites them. How do you lead an exciting life? By doing things and planning on doing things that excite you. When's the last time you've done that? Now understand, as I'm telling each one of you leaders this, the reason I have to keep reminding you of this, many of you are spending so much time having to serve and meet the needs of so many people and reach them and help them and guide them and bring them on. In some cases, you almost start forgetting about you. And I'm here to tell you, when you invest in you, you have now more to invest back into them. This is not a selfish act. This is actually a selfless act. And so my encouragement to you is, what goals do you have? What things do you continue to keep in front of you that keep you at your best? Right? Okay, so here's my small assignment for you. And it's a personal one. It is not a public one. All I want you to do, take 3 or 4 minutes. Give yourself, before you start writing, I want you to think first. If I can only do 2 or 3 exciting things in the next 12 months, either it's something exciting I want to do, something exciting I want to have, something exciting I want to be. What is that? This is you giving you a gift. I don't know the last time you thought about something like it, but do it right now. What's something you want to do for you? Something excites you, fires you up, gets you excited, like, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to make happen. Okay? Whatever comes to mind, before you start throwing it out by saying, oh, that came to mind. Yeah, but I don't know how. I didn't ask you if you know how you're going to do it. I just asked, listen to your heart. What do you want to do? What excites you? What moves you? I just want you to write it down. You don't have to share it with nobody. This is not for anybody else. This is just for you. But I'm going to ask that you write it down. And then I'll come back to you in a second.